It's past Thanksgiving, just barely, and we just received a poll that, in my personal opinion, it might be the worst poll for Donald Trump since, honestly, maybe 2017, but politically speaking, this may be nearing January 6th levels. And the reason I say that is because this time it is a lot harder to see how time can heal this one. So, Gallup, who is one of the better polling agencies, in fact, they are very well renowned and coveted. Donald Trump now has a 36% approval rating and a 60% disapproval rating. And this is bad enough on its own, especially for a president who, I mean, we're in his second term, but technically because he didn't get a second consecutive term, this is kind of like the first year in some ways. This is bad enough on that level, but what's even worse is the fact that the biggest reason his approval rating has fallen to this number is because he's taken a loss among Republicans who historically he's always been in the 90s with them and in single digits with Democrats. And that's kind of going to be a norm for presidents going forward, probably because, again, partisanship has really pushed everyone to their limits in this country. But even independents, he's at a record low. He was not even this low with independents, 25% in his first term, even after January 6th. So this is very, very clearly just a horrifying sign for any president, politically speaking, and any party that wants to have a good midterm election in the following year. Now, Biden had similar declines in his term, and Democrats did manage to not have a horrible midterm that was predicted to be a red wave by many who didn't look at polls, by the way, because that wasn't really a something that was registered in the data, but I digress. This is kind of a critical limit for Trump in his political career for two key reasons. For one, in his first term, there was a lot more volatility because Trump's first term, it took a while for him to really establish a high floor for himself. He was always going to be at least at 30%. He always had his base, but because of his appearance and because of how well non-presidential and non-conventional he looked, everything was a scandal, and it became very easy to negatively polarize against him, which is why he had underwater approvals. This time Americans are numb to that. Nothing Trump does is gonna, the reason he had that first term low was because of the stupid comments he made after Charlottesville where he both sides it, but generally speaking, it recovered after a while. It was mostly optical, and after a while, optical things didn't really hurt Trump's approval numbers. Like by the time we got to year two and three, he's at this level right now for really a simple reason. And the reason for that is, well, he was elected for kind of a specific reason, which was inflation after COVID really jacked up prices for stuff. The cost of living is way higher now than it ever was. And voters went to Trump because they wanted him to fix it. He campaigned heavily on prices being lowered. And, well, that not only has been happening, it's probably getting worse in many other areas. Again, we're wobbling economically, and a recession is really continuously delayed, and it's very hard for people to feel excited. And following the record government shutdown number of 40 days, well, a lot of people faced losing their SNAP benefits. They didn't lose them, but healthcare premiums might also go up, though I don't know how much that's going to factor in the polls. Generally speaking, the optics of Trump right now, if you voted for him and you're seeing the way the economy is right now, with how the job market is struggling, with how growth is kind of just flatlining, with how prices are staying the same or getting worse, well, that's going to really break a lot of people and just naturally cause him to shed approval. And we're seeing this right now. However, it's also kind of, well, a second term in the sense that barring him doing anything insane, which again, I personally doubt, uh, he is not going to get a third term. He cannot get one, which means this is his second term. And, well, historically speaking, second terms are not that great for presidents. I mean, look at Bush. It was really bad really quickly once he won a second term. And right now, I think at this current moment, we may be reaching a level where we might have to talk about, well, did Donald Trump finally peak? Because he made his comeback. He did basically everything politically. The show has been on. However, now Americans are kind of seeing things clearer because, again, things aren't really changing and they're not happy with everything going on with Trump. The economy is always going to drive a lot of public opinion. And while this was a strong area for Trump in his first term, it's not doing so well in his second term. And it just feels like it's getting worse consistently. Plus, voters are now blaming Trump more than they did Biden. So we're at a point where it's just if you are a Republican, if you voted for Trump, or if you are an independent who is in neither party, there's not much of an incentive for you at this current moment to support Trump. And a lot of people are probably feeling like his time might be waning. Now, here's the thing. Can Donald Trump fix this? Yes, he absolutely can fix this. Again, 2026 could be a better year economically than we thought. However, at this current moment, the economy and inflation were two things that made him president, and these are issues where voters really disapprove of him. In fact, on inflation, that is right now his lowest approval out of any other issue. And well, after a while, the vibes of, the aesthetic of MAGA and the excitement that came from Trump and everything in the elections, well, that's over. And now what's left is, well, disappointment. And Obama lived it, Bush lived it. I don't know if I would say Reagan lived it because, well, his second term ended with his VP becoming president, and we're still kind of dealing with Reaganomics, but Trump may well end up living the second term blues where it kind of could be that he peaked last year and maybe things are not going to be the same going forward. Time will tell. It's still the first year of the second term. Public opinion is typically very volatile, but at this current moment, if you're Trump and if you were pragmatic and not focused on building a ballroom while all of this economic anxiety is happening, well, you would probably try to course correct that and figure out, okay, well, how can we fix this? And of course, he did lift the food tariffs, but that might be too little too late. How long will it take for prices to go back down? And that still doesn't fix the prices that were the way they were when he took office. So right now, we'll see how Donald Trump's second term plays out, but this poll is definitely not a good indicator of things to come in the near future at the very least. So, yeah, I just wanted to kind of rant about that.